Hello, good morning friends. Welcome back to your favorite channel Code One Digest. Today in this tutorial, I'll show you how to list all the objects available in S3 bucket through our NestJs project, how to upload file to S3 bucket, how to download file from S3 bucket. So all of that we are going to see in this single project. So stay tuned and watch this tutorial till end. If you want to learn AWS S3 bucket, how to upload, how to download, how to list the content of S3 bucket, then this is a tutorial for you. So stay tuned and watch this tutorial till end. Okay friends? Okay friends, so here is the prerequisite for this tutorial. You should have a S3 bucket already created. You should have a IAM user and policy created to access S3 bucket. You should have a client key and secret to perform required operation on S3 bucket, and then a NestJs framework. You can follow this tutorial if you know the Node.js or Java technology. But in this tutorial, writing program in NestJs framework. Okay, friends? Okay, friends, here is the agenda of this tutorial. We will download AWS SDK library and add it in our project. We will be creating a controller class to create some endpoints. I'll be writing a service class. Service class will be containing all my business logic and code to communicate with S3 bucket. Then finally, we'll be testing file upload, listing all the objects from S3 bucket, and downloading file from S3 bucket. Right, friends? Okay, friends, if you want to learn how to create S3 bucket, how to set up S3 bucket from scratch, then go and watch this video in my channel. In this video, you will get all the information that you need to create S3 bucket. Then go and watch this video. The link is there on your screen and also given in the description section of this tutorial. So you can watch this video, create your S3 bucket, and then join in this video for the following steps. Okay, friends? Okay, friends. So if you have created S3 bucket now it's time for you to create IAM user with required permission and policy to allow access to S3 bucket. So this is a video I have created where you will learn how to create IAM user with required permissions and policies to grant access to S3 bucket. As our application is running on different server, that application wants to upload file, download file, get the content of S3 bucket. For that, we have to provide a permissions to perform that operation to our application, right? So in this tutorial, you will learn how can we create that access, how to create a user, how to create permissions for that user, and then we will use that user credentials in our application to connect to S3 bucket. Okay, friends. So go and watch this tutorial and then you can join back in this tutorial. Right, friends? Okay, friends. So in this tutorial, use a NestJs project to communicate, to interact with S3 bucket, to upload files, to download files, and to list down the content of S3 bucket. If you are new to NestJs framework, then you can follow this tutorial playlist to learn to set up NestJs framework, to create NestJs application. So the complete tutorial is there. The link is given on your screen and also given in the description section of this video. Okay friends, so I have logged in into my AWS management console and now I'll show you my S3 bucket and the permissions that I have created. In your management console, you can search for S3, go to S3 dashboard. So here it is listing me that I have one bucket. So this is the bucket what I have, and then inside that bucket I just have one directory, one folder, POC, right? And if we go to IAM user, so here I have one user created, COD S3 demo user, right? So this is a user that I have created and with a required permission. So in this policy, I have provided all the permissions required to access S3 bucket. I want to perform operation like upload file, download file, list objects, right? So you can have those required permissions provided in this policy. And that policy is now attached to this user, right? And now we'll be using these user credentials. So go to security credential and you can see that this is a security key, access key, and there will be a secret. We'll be using this access key and secret in our application to perform operation on S3 bucket. Right, friends? Okay, friends. So this is my NestJs project that I have created, and see this is structure of my project. We have package.json file here, which contains all the dependencies. All the required dependencies are defined here. And then we have a source folder. Inside source folder, we have main.ts where our application starts and respective controller service classes and module classes to define what all modules we have in this application. The very first thing that we'll see now here is a package.json file. In this package.json file, I'm adding AWS SDK dependencies. This is important. You will need AWS SDK dependency to interact with S3 bucket. We'll be using this library, AWS SDK library, to perform all the operation on S3 bucket from our applications. If you're using Python or if you're using Java, then you can add the dependency. So this library is available in all the programming languages. Okay, friends. Now let me show you my controller class. Okay, friends. So this is my controller class. So if you see, this is my controller class, app controller, and having @controller decorator on top of it. Then I have three endpoint defined here: upload, list, and download. In upload, I am taking one parameter of type file, and using file interceptor, I'll be reading the file and passing that file to app service dot upload file method. So we'll see that when we see the app service class. Now, second is our list endpoint. This list endpoint to list the object in S3 bucket. We'll be calling our app service.list object to get all the content, all the objects from S3 bucket and show it to the user. Then finally, we have a third endpoint download where we'll be downloading one file by calling this app service.download file function. These three endpoints I have defined in controller. We'll be testing our application using these three endpoints to perform operation on S3 bucket accordingly. Right? Now let us see our service classes. Okay, so this is my service layer class. This is where our business logic is defined. If you see, the very first thing what I am doing here is defining my S3 bucket. So this is the bucket name of my bucket that we have seen in our AWS console. This is the name of the bucket. Initializing my S3 object. S3 is equal to new aws.s3, and by providing the region, by providing the access key ID and access secret access key, right? Right, friends, once we have defined this, then we'll use this common S3 object to perform operation on S3, upload, list down the object, or download file from S3 bucket. Let us see. First function here is upload file. We are getting file from our controller, and then I'm calling a local function S3 upload here, right? So this is the function that we are calling here. It is taking file. We are sending file, full file here. This is bucket. This is the name of the file, and this is MIME type. Now what I'm doing is here I'm preparing first a target location where I want to upload. The target location is where I want to upload my file in S3 bucket. So in S3 bucket, I have defined POC slash. That means I want to upload file inside POC folder. As we have seen, we have one folder created there. So my file will go and upload in this location, POC slash string name. And then I'm defining a params. In params, I'll be having a bucket. Target location will go in form of key, body, that is file itself, the file object. Content type is MIME type, and other attributes like region and all, right? Now here I am calling this dot s3 dot upload. So this is the function. This is the function coming from that library, AWS SDK library, and it takes that param that we have created above param constant, which all the required information, and we are using await and promise. And if you notice, we have this function as async, right? We have defined this function as async. I hope you know the concept of async, await, and promise, right? I'm calling this .s3.upload by passing all the params as defined here in this constant, and then I'm logging the message if it is successful and returning a response. Now this response will go to controller, and controller will send this response back to the user, the caller. Okay, friends. Now there is another function in this service class, that is list object. This function is to list the content of my S3 bucket, and we have defined async, and we are saying promise any. That means it will return a list of object. Here also we have defined a param constant. We call it constant or variable. This is my bucket where I want to perform this operation. I'm using delimiter slash. You can also use prefix if you want to get content of any specific directory of any specific location, right? If you don't give this, then it will give me a root content of the root directory. But if I want that I want to get a content of any other subdirectory, then I will say prefix colon and say POC slash. So it will give me a content inside list of content inside POC directory. Once the params are defined, then we can call this .s3.list object v2 by passing params. So this param we are passing, and if you notice here again we are using await and promise. As we learned, we use async at the to define a function to ensure that it will return a promise, and at this line we are ensuring that we will block the execution here unless until the promise is resolved or rejected, right? So the list of content will come into result, and result is returned. The result will go to controller will send this result back to the user, the caller of this endpoint. Now third and last function that we have in this class is download file. This is to download any specific file. Now this is very interesting. We are using signed URL to download any file. What does that mean? When we say I want to download this file from POC folder, then it will provide me a signed link to download this file, and that URL will have a expiry time. So let's understand that. In this function, we are defining a constant param again, where we'll be providing a bucket. This is my bucket name, and the key. Key is nothing but which file you want to download. The complete path, absolute path of that file in your S3 bucket. So you have to start from your root directory. You have POC folder in that root directory. Inside that I am having this file. So I want to download this file, let's say. For a demo purpose, I have hard coded that I want to download this file. And this expires. Number of seconds that signed URL is valid for. So we'll see that we'll generate the URL, we'll download the file, and then we'll wait for 30 seconds and more, and then we'll again try to hit that URL. We should get access denied error. Okay, so here you can keep this number as per your requirement. Now at line number 82, I am calling this.s3.get signed URL, telling the operation name because first argument is operation name here. If you see, the name of the operation is get object, and second is the param. So this function will return a URL, and then this URL I am returning in a controller. Controller will send this URL back to a caller. Right, friends? So I hope that this code is clear to you. Very simple code, and you need not to worry about this code. I'll provide this project in my GitHub repository. The GitHub repository link will be shared in the description section of this video. You can download this project and use it as is. Okay? Okay, friends. You just have to change the bucket, access key ID and secret key accordingly as per your bucket. Okay. Okay, friends. So now it's time to run our application and test our endpoints and see if file upload, listing down all the objects and downloading the file is all working fine or not. So let me start my application with npm run start dev. Okay, so this will start my application. NestJs application successfully started. So first operation that I'll do is to upload file. in S3 bucket in POC folder, and then we'll download the file, we'll list the content of S3 bucket and so on, right? So let me show you my Postman. Here I have three endpoints defined. First is to upload file. This is to upload file. And if you see, I am uploading a file here. It is of type file. I have selected a file is the key and it is a type of a file I have selected from my local directory. So you have to select a file and call this API. But before that, let us go to S3 bucket and see if we have any file in S3 bucket. So let us go. So this is my S3 bucket. I just have one POC folder and I don't have any file inside that. Now we are uploading a file and it should appear here. So let me hit this. So it says 201 created. So it says the location is this and file is created. The key is slash poc slash flower jasmine.jpg, right? Let us refresh this and see if the file is uploaded here successfully. Let me refresh this. Yes, so you see the file is uploaded just now. So we have this bucket, we have this folder, and we have this file uploaded here. Right, friends? So that means our upload operation is working fine. Now what I'll do is I'll run my next operation, that is listing the object of S3 bucket. And I'm listing the root directory of my S3 bucket. So here I have not provided prefix. That means it will give me the content of my root directory in S3 bucket. So let me run this. Yes. So I got 200 response. So here it is saying that I have just one folder POC, right? And that is right. So we have this prefix POC available. That means the POC is a directory available to me at the root and nothing else. No other file is available on the root. And if I say here, let's say prefix POC slash and my server will start, yes. And let me run this now. Yeah, so you see now I am getting the content of inside the POC. That is why I got this file as well, right? So you see the POC is there at the root, and inside the POC I have, so these are the content inside the POC folder, right, friends? So this is a file. So this is how you list the content of your S3 bucket. Now let us do one thing. We'll try to download this flower jasmine.jpg file from our S3 bucket, and it will give me a signed URL. It will be valid for 30 seconds. Let us do that. Here is my download URL. Let me hit this, right? So this is the URL. Let me copy this URL. Let me go to the browser and paste that URL. So see this image is coming, right? Now we'll wait for a few seconds more and see if this URL is valid or not, because as per our code, the URL is valid only for 30 seconds. Now let me refresh this URL again to see if the URL is valid or not. Let me refresh this, right? So after 30 seconds, I got access denied because that URL is expired and we cannot use that signed URL anymore. That's the beauty of signed URL. If the URL is expired, then you cannot download the file. So all three operations that we have seen is working fine. That means we are successfully able to communicate with S3 bucket from our NestJs service class. Right, friends? So you can write similar piece of code in Java, Python, JavaScript, Node.js. So this library, AWS library, is available in all this programming language. Right, friends? So if you like this video, so give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, so do subscribe to my channel to grow Code One Digest family. Thank you. Async, await, and promise are the concept of Node.js. Async await lets you write code that handles tasks which takes time, like fetching data from database or calling third-party APIs and so on. Async keyword is used to create a function that returns a promise, right? So we use async with our function definition wherever there is a promise returns, okay? While await keyword pauses the function execution until the promise is done. So as we have seen here in our code, we're defining async at this function. That means we are saying that it will return a promise, right? And we are returning a promise here. And await will ensure that we will wait here for this promise to complete. Once we have a response, then only our execution will continue, right? Same thing is an async function returns a promise. As we have seen, async function is returning a promise and it allows the use of await keyword inside. Await keyword pauses the execution of async function until the promise is resolved or rejected, right? Our execution will be waiting at line number 47 unless until this promise is resolved or rejected. Friends, I have also created a complete playlist for S3 bucket tutorials. I have created many videos on S3 buckets, how to create S3 bucket, how to create permissions for S3 bucket, how to create IAM user to provide permissions to S3 bucket, how can we connect to S3 bucket using different programming languages like Python, Node.js, NestJs, Java, and so on. So all these tutorials are available in this playlist. The link is there on your screen. If you want to learn S3 bucket, how to communicate with S3 bucket using a programming language, then go and watch this playlist if you want to learn S3 bucket from scratch.